hammer or Burna. And it looks like we're off. Any hopes for a specific item this time around from the uncle?
I like to see runners show off their skills, and by that I mean the skills that I know I do not have, which means I'm in the mood for bombs from Uncle.
Bombs are definitely an interesting one, requiring 6 bombs to kill the 4 utterly required enemies. The ball and chain guard not included in that because you can use pots, but the blue guards are actually scripted this exact same every time, so 4 bombs there that are exactly the same. The green guard has 4 different scripts and 2 different bomb paths that you can take. Looks like we're getting Burna this time around, so they'll have to manage their magic well. And then also for the rat is just 100% random, so it could be all luck based on that part.
And they also found 3 bombs in that first chest in Link's house, which will be really nice, and another 3 during this sewer sequence. So pretty good setup here. On the way through the back of Escape, we'll need a bomb to get 3 chests, as well as needing some bombs for the Kakariko search.
Yeah, having 6 bombs this early, I will say that's a definite plus side to them. Having Burna, which is one of the most taxing starts, Burna and Fire Rod are equally paced on that. You generally will not have enough magic to get through unless you pick up magic inside the sewer section. So now we'll have exactly what they need to get through. Don't have to farm bombs, nothing else. And a map from the first chest inside the castle.
I suppose it had to be somewhere. It means we will be seeing that sanctuary chest being open. I think the last run I commentated, both runners didn't open it because they tracked their items well and realized that it was just going to be a map.
Yeah, exactly. It's always nice when you don't have to open a chest because you know what it's going to be already. But this case, we will be opening everything. Alright. Last race I commentated, Ice Rod was the last item they had. This time, it is the second item.
It's always nice when hopping from one randomizer to another, just complete 180 in how the run feels. So, gotta say, hearing that kind of swap is, I find it pretty welcome.
Mm-hmm. Of course, it all depends on if TR is required or not, and Aeide actually doing one of my favorite things ever here, and gonna throw the green guard at the ball and chain guard. And of course, with not having to kill anything, can make quick work of this escape section.
And looking on Carter's side here, I'm wondering why the Knights are choosing to attack him. I mean, don't you think he blends in pretty well with them?
He's a different size, though, I feel, so it almost looks like it's just Link wearing a helmet that's too big for him. So maybe they're catching on. Alright, and a few chests left here in the escape section. 4 items to be had.
And with not having a key, we kind of knew that chest right before that locked door had to be a key. And now we're going to head back, deal with these pesky rats, and find out what's going to be in those last 3 chests before we get out of the sewers.
Yeah, exactly. Having those bombs, not have to worry about anything. Easy 4 items, but we'll see if those pay off.
Got a piece of heart, a heart container, and the mirror out of those chests. So definitely a nice maneuver, like a movement-based item there with the mirror, help getting them some light and dark world fast movement once they get the other required items to get into the dark world. And Sanctuary just having one more piece of heart as Carter heads out to begin the journey across the land of Hyrule and see what kind of randomized setup we have for the day.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see decently standard route here, looking at what Carter's doing. Going up, maybe a tree pull, a lumberjack check, as well as head into the Lost Woods. Ooh, very nice. The bush crab actually dropping bombs this time around.
That is definitely good knowledge to have in case early on these runners are running low on bombs. They can just find themselves a bush crab and get some more. And the 10 bomb drop inside the lumberjack cave. I doubt we'll be seeing that today.
Yeah, very true. I feel Aeide is not worth 10 bombs. Although Aeide still could be required at this point without having any access to our Dark World.
Mushroom spot yielding a piece of heart there. Carter deciding it's not worth it. Fair enough, thinking I'll get enough hearts by other means. Because it's only 1/4 of a health increase, so that makes sense.
And we'll get to see what our 5-item pool inside of Blind's house gets to be this time around. I'm almost expecting some sort of progression, whether that be the lamp or a sword early on. Having the cape already, almost leaning towards that Aeide required kind of thing. A 10 bomb upgrade, 10 arrows, a red rupee, a piece of heart, and 1 more item to go. Another red rupee.
And even with all those money drops we just saw there, still not enough for the bottle vendor quite yet. So these runners probably are hoping to find at least another 30 rupees before they get their way through, so they can at least spend the money to get that item.
There should be just enough inside the well here. And yeah, definitely enough here if they pick up the pots, so...
And still nothing too big yet with these first 2 locations in Kakariko done.
And the bottle vendor having a terrible deal for us, taking 80 of our rupees. Oh, very interesting. That is a moon pearl inside the chicken hut. And it looks like all normal crystals on all 3 dungeons of the Light World.
Carter visiting Sick Kid, I'm supposing forgetting that he hasn't received a bottle yet there.
It'd almost be funny if the back of the tavern there had a bottle, because then he could just go right back up. But not this time. Gonna head off to the race game as well as the library. We'll see if we get either a check on the race game first or if they decide to gamble first. Looks like we're going to check this time, and it's a red potion. Not absolutely necessary, but if the Sick Kid actually holds progression, then it kind of sucks to check first. That's where gambling pays off. If it's something you need, it's better to just gamble it and go. But you won't know that until you check.
Now the question is, are these runners going to take that bottle and just walk right back up to Kakariko to turn it into the Sick Kid immediately, or something they'll kind of save for later?
I mean, you're technically like half and half between your next item locations if you were to walk back up or save and quit and go towards the dam. Looks like Carter is going to save and quit here. It is hard to say what you'd rather do. You have more item chances going south than you do checking the Sick Kid, so I can respect what Carter's doing. Looks like Aeide might be heading up north, though.
I like this variation to see what kind of scenario this puts these 2 different runners in. It could be a big thing to put an interesting lead for one runner or the other, but overall, with it being this early, it's probably not necessarily going to be enough to be a huge game changer quite yet. But there's our power glove inside the dam.
Yeah, Carter's choice is definitely the one that pays off here. The Sick Kid only giving a quarter heart and getting glove out of the dam. We're now only 1 item away from Dark World access. And Carter taking a fish on a magical journey here. Returning it to the sea. Very nice. Aeide getting their power glove. And our runners forced to dip out of the mini Moldorm cave, not having enough magic nor bombs to defeat the enemies. We'll go up and head to the Ice Rod Cave, though. Aeide does have enough bombs if they choose to do it that way, but you wouldn't want to waste too many here.
It is 5 items to be found in here, though, so could be pretty
That
big.
bomb didn't explode them. It was right on top of them. Very interesting. Not much shot left here for Aeide. Will attempt it still. Oh, wow. An 8 bomb drop on Aide's side. A red rupee, a 5 arrow upgrade, the flute, a fairy in a bottle, and a 10 arrow upgrade. I will say that's worth it. Especially getting that 8 bomb drop in there. That just absolutely amazing.
That's the kind of thing you can't call, but when it happens, boy, is it satisfying.
Carter gonna see what Sahasrahla is hiding in his back closet. But that also uses his last bomb. A 5 bomb upgrade, 50 rupees, and a red rupee. And those crabs really hurt in green mail, doing 2 hearts of damage. Now it'll be interesting to see where Aeide goes next. With having the flute, we'll most likely go and activate that now. But that gives access to Death Mountain for 2 items of it at least.
Yeah, and with that mirror, they can actually also enter Tower of Hera, although depending on what the item setup is in there, they might not be able to make too much progress within it.
Yeah, exactly. Without a weapon to defeat Moldorm, as well as no fire source, it'll be interesting to see exactly how far they can actually get into it. And Carter doing that early dive into Eastern with no bow, no lantern, won't make it too far in here. And Aeide off to Death Mountain. Overall, I haven't seen too much out of Eastern yet. And Spectacle Rock only holding a heart container on the top and heart piece inside. Carter opting to do the Dark Room here in Eastern. And looks like Aide's actually going to go do the exact same play here. And now the only item locations left to really check for the runners would be the first few items of Hera, as well as Zora, and Agina as well. So, depending on if the sequence break pays off, which it's just a bomb upgrade, so it doesn't, this is getting closer and closer to an Aeide required seed.
It really comes down to what item do we find next, because we don't have Aeide access or Dark World access at this point.
Yeah, exactly. We're 1 item away from Dark World access, but 2 items away from Aeide access, so both runners probably hoping they find the hammer or the other glove before they find that lamp. As well as a sword to tackle on the curtain at the end. Carter attempting again at the mini Moldorm Cave. Getting a double, very nice. And getting that 8 bomb drop as well. Picking up their fairy in a bottle as well as the flute, and we'll probably head on over to Kakariko to activate it. Aeide will not find too much here inside of Eastern, so it'll be interesting to see where they head off to next, with already being up on the mountain. Agina in play, Zora in play, but nowhere near enough rupees to get Zora.
Now, one thing we haven't seen either of these runners do is the sequence break of fake flippers, which could give them access to 3 more items that are out of logic. If they end up finding that as an Aghanim required seed, I wonder if either of these runners will consider doing any sort of trying to do those sequence breaks in hopes to avoid that Aghanim requirement.
I mean, it's always possible that one of those 3 items does hold our progression, but it is a time sink if it were to not hold what you need. So I think you would just go for the egg at that point in time if you were to have those items. A red rupee up on the ledge, and we'll see what our Agina is holding. And Aeide, after getting that bomb upgrade, is going to just dip right on out of there. Agina just holding a heart piece, so now our item locations have slowly dwindled down to Hera as well as Zora. With having no rupees, that could be an interesting play. And Carter is going to attempt the Dark Cave. It is a lot easier with the hammer or a sword because you know where you are generally inside the cave, but doing it fully blind could be a struggle.
That's an interesting use of bombs to kind of navigate his location a little bit there.
I mean, anything helps at that point in time. Did Aeide... Oh, I see. I never knew that that's how it worked. But accessing the Houlihan room here, gonna get a ton of rupees, and we'll hopefully go up to Zora.
Still a few rupees short, unfortunately, though.
Yeah, exactly. And it looks like Aeide is gonna go up and do the first little bit of Hera here and see if that pays off. And it looks like Carter's going to do the same thing here. Head on into Hera. I was going to say, they have to use bombs to trigger the switches here. That is a pain. Oh, but there it is. We have Dark World access. Aghanim #1 is not going to be happening this time around.
That is a crazy place to find that Titan's Mitt.
Yeah, and having to use bombs to trigger the switches to go and achieve that. Very funny. Oh, Carter drinking the red potion there. And then buying a green, and then gonna flute away. Looks like Aeide is going to continue on with Hera at this point in time.
There is one more item to be found somewhere in this dungeon. So depending on the item drops we see here, Aeide may be able to get a decent ways in, or possibly not, with a small key and no fire source. That's as far as we'll be going in.
Yeah, and Carter already on to the next play here in the Village of Outcasts. We'll see what we get. And a mushroom. Did I hear anyone say they like fetch quests? The only way that Ago would be required would be is if the hammer or the flipper were to be locked on the side where like pod is. But other than that, it's not many options left.
And it looks like we have green pendant, pod, red and blue pendants for Skullwoods and Swamp, and I believe Thieves Town and Turtle Rock were our red crystals today.
Yes, exactly. Definitely a nice array of dungeons.
I'll admit I appreciate Aid leaving that map menu open long enough for me to be able to pull all that information together.
Yeah, with 3 normal crystals in the light world, it makes for a very interesting map check for the dark world.
And the blacksmiths on Carter's side only yielding a piece of heart as Aid visits Skull Woods, which holds 2 items throughout the entirety of the dungeon, besides keys and maps and compasses and stuff like that we don't care as much about.
Getting the big key already for Skullwoods.
And 50 rupees in the C-shaped house today.
Oh, these mini Moldorms just in the way, blocking that 10 arrow chest. And Carter also doing a very long map check here. A lot of things to take down. And on to the Thieves Town dive. Four chests on the first little layer here. One of them being the big key guaranteed. Other 3 could be anything else. Looks like a blue rupee. And that leaves 3 items left to find here for the dungeon as a whole.
And Aid checking that bumper cave ledge for us. Just a piece of heart up there, so the cape is not anything extremely required yet at this point.
Yeah, and with having that cape early on, it's actually good to check that now, because maybe that could have held some sort of progression of... And that's now 2 items out of Thieves Town, not being good at all.
And this seed not giving these runners much to work with in the way of weaponry at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Their choices are Burno, which are it's insanely taxing on your magic, so you'd have to be holding a green potion really at all times. I'm sure that's why Carter picked up that green potion. And only having bombs other than that, so it is really not too pleasing. 2 items left to find here in Thieves Town. We'll see if they pay off or not. Overall, even if they don't, it is still a crystal, and it's one of the 5-6 crystals, so it will give access to something else later on.
And unless we get a weapon soon, we will be seeing the use of the blue cane on blind. I'm not sure how much magic it drains. Do you know how doable it is if they have just, like, at this point, neither of them has any magic in their bar?
I know Carter has a green potion. With a full bar, if you're really good at activating and deactivating at the perfect moments, and you're really good at dodging, you can do it with one magic bar. But it all depends on how well you can dodge in the fight. Aeide opting out of that, gonna head to the southern route here and do ourselves a digging game. Yeah, forcing, not so much forcing, but having the runners do a blue cane bomb fight isn't anything new to the rando scene. I remember a race a few weeks ago where they were forced to do land molas the exact same way. And Carter now using that fairy as well.
Just finding a piece of heart from that digging game. Nifty little thing to keep the health going up, I suppose, but not the progression that Aide's hoping for at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So looks like gonna go and either help the Smiths or head up north. And Carter's gonna head on into the blind fight. Not having the compass yet, you want to hope that you get the item drop here and that it's the compass locked inside that big chest. And that right there shows how taxing that Rod of Burna is, using over half the magic and not even getting through the first phase, just due to activation time and where like blind is in the room. So that made it so Carter doesn't have enough magic for the fight. I'm gonna head on out and do something else. And Aide's gonna do the long trek around the dark world here on the southern half. Gonna bring over the purple chest, as well as check Stumpy.
And we should get that little ledge south of Grove as well. So that's because we got the mirror, so nice little item to route in as well.
It makes it actually really nice to do all this in one go, kind of do light world stuff, dark world stuff, everything all at once. Looks like just a red rupee in K45. And it also looks like Carter must have forgotten he has the shroom in his inventory, because he could have did that when he restocked on potions. But definitely committed for this fight.
The only reason I would think he would intentionally skip depositing mushroom was if he's hoping to find the red cane and possibly do a fake powder. But that's
very true.
Yeah, a thing worth considering that some runners might do, and it can pay off if the powder's hiding somewhere and it ends up yielding something really big at the Bat Cave.
Yeah, exactly. For those that don't know, fake powder is done by using Samaria when you have no magic and instantly menuing and bringing out the mushroom, and it'll actually use powder on the bat's little chalice thing. And Aeide picking up a blue mail from the purple chest. Carter onto the second phase here of blind. And the third, having plenty of magic this time around.
And on Aide's side, we got a hype cave check coming up here.
Ooh, so it looks like our last item for Thieves Town is locked in the big chest, which they cannot open at this point in time. I'm gonna give that hype cave a solid 1 out of 10. That was not hype.
I'm surprised you gave it that much, to be honest.
Yeah, I could have given it less, but I'll be nice. Overall, not a whole ton left to do. They have a few things they can check here, but their locations are dwindling a little bit. Looks like Aeide gonna hand in that mushroom right away.
And Carter, unfortunately, after buying all those potions, lacking the money to do the shovel game.
Well, if he turned in that mushroom, he would have gotten a green for free. Now, where is Aeide off to next here? Back into the Dark World. We'll see if they decide to route in maybe behind the graveyard, or if they're gonna attempt blind with having that couple potions. And it looks like Aeide is going to do just that, heading off into Thieves Town yet again, going to do blind, having a couple green potions. And Carter, where are you off to? Heading back? Must have just forgot a check here. Getting a nice red rupee from Stumpy, and I'm going to head off and do Hype Cave as well as hand in this purple chest.
And we know from Aide's side, the best thing he's going to find is the blue mail, and that's just from turning in the purple chest. He's better off avoiding Hype Cave, but he doesn't know that, so...
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
It's slowly getting down to that Zora play again.
That's like between that and Graveyard Lead is another place that's like a really awkward place to have to do as a solo spot if you haven't done like King's Tomb, but because they don't have boots, they can't do it.
Yeah, exactly. But looking at what they have left to do, those seem to be the only locations left. But if they know how to fake Flipper, it won't make going to Zora's all that bad, because they can look at 3 items up there, as well as a potential hobo under the bridge whilst doing so. Carter getting that blue mail is now a blue guard. Heading off to do Agina, possibly? Oh! I forgot they had Titan's Mitt. They have the Mire area to do here.
Yeah, that gives them the Mire Shed checkerboard cave and also a sort of backdoor entrance into the bottom section of Desert as well.
Yeah, and it looks like Mire requires Bombos to enter this time around. We have ourselves a red meringue and 20 rupees in the shed. Checkerboard cave only holding a piece of heart, and Carter is out of there, dipping and moving on.
Where is this seed hiding its weapons? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, very true. Desert still has 2 items in it, so that could have been the play to make, is to at least enter it to see if you're either lamp blocked or boot locked. Overall, this can't be a swordless run, unfortunately, for a few people in the chat there. In order to enter TR or Mire, you have to have a sword to activate the medallion. Carter, with enough rupees, is now going to do digging game.
This could very well be a fighter sword only for a majority of the run seed at the very least, though.
That is very true. And we're going to get our behind the graveyard check here, finally. We'll see what it holds. It's the lamp! Now, I just want to point out that we are currently a sword away from Aghanim, which would give us the Eastern Dark World access, because we do not have flippers nor the hammer at this point in time. It's also just very nice to have lamp in general. Dark rooms are no fun. As well as finding that red meringue for themselves.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how many locations overall does that lamp open up to them at this point. I feel like there's like a few here and there, like Old Man, which we already saw one of these runners, Sequence Break.
Right.
They could go.
Eastern,
Yeah.
which both have already sequence broke,
Right.
so...
We can go get the big key, I believe, and Hera was in the basement, correct?
Correct, so now that is open to them.
Which means something could be hidden
maybe
upstairs in
hammer
Hera.
or flippers upstairs, yeah. Zora is still on the table, as well as 2 items inside of Desert to get. And with having that lamp, maybe this is a Burna Bombs fight. It's always possible.
So Aeide going to give us some new information checking into Desert here. So let's see what we got.
Not boot locked with having that map on the torch. Finds that small key, will give access to the right room here. One of the chests has to be the big key, the other can be whatever it wants to be.
And at this point, what weapons or what items in Aide's arsenal will actually do damage to Lamolus should he try to finish this dungeon out?
Both bombs and Burna does do damage, but it requires a lot to do.
Does the ice rod hit Landmolus?
The bow sure does.
Very true.
Ice Rod does not affect Landmolas, but the bow does, so finding it, very nice find. Has 40 arrows, can finish this dungeon.
As well as Eastern shortly thereafter.
Yeah, exactly. Eastern now fully in logic. Overall, a nice dive by Aeide to actually do the desert play here. And Carter now Fire Rod locked out of the rest of Skull Woods. We'll see what the play they decide to make next. And Aeide with just enough magic there to use Burna to clear out these little enemies. And we're getting closer and closer to that Landmola's fight. And where is Carter off to next? Is it the graveyard ledge here? Alright, I retract my statement. Ice Rod works. I never knew that, actually. That just doesn't seem like something that would work. And it looks like it does the exact same amount of damage to them as Fire Rod, with only taking 2 shots.
Yeah, it's just hard to deal with that fire, like the speed that the ice rod shot comes out of the rod. So like the aiming's a little rougher, but still Aeide showing us how it's done.
Yeah, very nice. Showing me something I've never seen before. Yeah, definitely a slower animation to use for sure, but getting bombos from the Landmolas, so we are not medallion locked on Mire anymore. Just need a sword to enter it.
Unfortunately, after getting in, they won't get much further without boots or hookshot, though.
Yeah, exactly. And Carter gonna turn in that mushroom and then be very disappointed that they spent a lot of money on potions. Some frustration punches there. And Aeide heading off for the hobo check.
Now, interesting with having access to some other locations, still Aeide deciding they want to do some fake flippers, I guess, because they want to get to Zora because it's in logic and they figure there's a lot of sequence break items along the way, so why not?
I mean, Carter looks like he's gonna do the exact same play here. Gonna get a bunch of money and then head off to Zora. I mean, at this point in time, I'm almost thinking that Zora has the sword. But with having bow, I'm not sure if they got all 3 items out of Eastern or not. I would assume so with them doing that full loop for an item. But I'm not sure. And the water walking glitch here, very nice to have the Moon Pearl for. But only leads to a heart container and 50 rupees. Aeide having just enough rupees for the Zora as well.
Did we get a look at what was on that ledge?
I don't think Aeide walked close enough to it, actually.
That is very interesting that they chose not to look at it.
And just bombs on Zora. Alright, what are the plays left on the table for us? I think Eastern, as well as tackling Hera.
I think that might be what it all boils down to at this point.
Depending on whether or not they got the 3 items out of Eastern, then Hera would be the play to make, having another item up there.
Yeah, this east side, like lack of east side dark roll access is like a very unique situation to have, given that they don't have hammer or flippers would be the other way across.
Yeah, and getting a heart container out of the hobo. And then doing a nice fake flipper back. And looks like 50 rupees on the island in Lake Hylia, and then off to Zora for Carter.
That's rough for Carter, getting hit right as they were about to enter that portal. The blowback of trying to do a fake flippers. If you get hit, you are instantly killed.
Yeah, exactly. It's never a nice thing, but is going to go reattempt the fake flipper here.
And I believe that is actually a patch that the devs of Randomizer added in the vanilla game. It just soft locks, I believe, if you take a hit while fake flippersing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's soft locked in a way that you can't even save and quit. You're forced to reset your game. So if you haven't saved in a while, you're going to lose a lot of progress. And Aeide getting that nice coffee break. It's also crazy to think that we're now 53.5 minutes into this, and just waiting for those few items to just blow this seed wide open.
Yeah, I know for sure. And Carter got us a little look at what was on the Zora ledge, and it was just a heart container.
So not too important to come back for later on. Aeide getting that big key, and halfway through the coffee break realized they had the cape and decided to use the cape glitch, where when you use the cape and hold onto a wall, you won't use any magic.
So at this point, there's only one item hidden somewhere up in this tower because we've already found the glove upgrade downstairs.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't believe they have any items to kill Moldorm with at this point in time. I mean, maybe I'll be proven wrong again, but we shall see what this second item holds. We now have an item to kill Moldorm with, and with finding the hammer, Ganon is officially fully dead. We can now access all of the Dark World.
Yeah, and hammer actually opens up a whole bunch of locations for us. So that that was like that one item we were looking for to finally blow this seed up.
Yeah, exactly. And hammer on Moldorm is definitely very nice. It does tempered sword damage, so 3 whacks to the tail, and Moldorm goes down.
The hitbox on the hammer can be a little rough, but Aeide makes that Moldorm fight look pretty easy with the hammer.
Yeah, Carter actually drinking a green potion before killing that last enemy, and then opens the chest to find the bow. Could have saved that green potion.
And Aeide figures, well, I'm up here on Death Mountain. I just got this hammer. Why not? There's plenty of items. Let's stick around.
Yeah, exactly. Having access to Dark Death Mountain as well. 1 item in Spiral Cave, 7 items inside of Paradox Cave, 2 items in Super Bunny. Can't access anything inside Hookshot Cave, but can get the floating item, the floating island item, which I don't think is too important this time around. And Carter gonna head on to the back end and do the Lanmolas fight as well, potentially. Could have just used Mirror and saved the walk, though.
Yeah, I believe he was thinking to check the big chest, but at least from there, you're right. There could have been a mirror to save some walking.
Looks like Aeide gonna do the Dark World version first, before heading into Paradox Cave. Never mind. Setting up a nice portal so that they can actually come out of Paradox Cave and instantly start heading up Super Bunny Cave. Nice red mail, though. Will definitely help for late game, having extra defense there. One of my least favorite things to do is use hammer on mini Moldorms. Getting 6 rupees and a powder, a heart piece, and the flippers. So if the hammer didn't kill your Egg of Dreams, the flippers have killed it even more. So now that Waterfall Cave sequence break has been fixed. With Pod being a green pendant, and as well as having Mira to just access Eastern and clear that out right away, having all the items to complete both dungeons, maybe that could be a potential play sometime soon.
For sure. Anytime you can enter a pendant dungeon, it's a little scary, like because you know there's that risk of sinking a lot of time. But Pod is one of those that has so many items in it, and like you said, it's got a green pendant on it as well. So that's one more item on top of everything already in there. So it's definitely something that these runners are going to consider.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's 6 items for Pod just there with that green pendant included. It could be worth it in the end. You never know.
And the medallion of the day for T-Rock is going to be Quake.
Alright, so we're in search of Quake, Samaria, and Fire Rod, as well as Hookshot to finish this seed off. As well as Silvers, if the runners do not know Silverless or not. It looks like Aeide gonna jump into that Spike Cave. Where's Carter gonna finish off the Eastern Palace?
The
It
little
isn't a
squiggly.
wavy cookie.
Yeah, I was gonna say the line's not facing the right way there.
Yeah. It isn't. It isn't our squiggly cookie, but it is the Harry Potter cookie. So, one of them, not the one we needed. And we'll see where Aeide is off to next here. Carter heading out for the Armos Knights very shortly. It looks like Aeide is going to go check the Peg Cave as well as the Mad Batter.
Definitely a nice way to combo those two locations into a single check rather than leaving one hanging. Smart move there. I am always a fan of checking the Mad Batter. It's like my favorite spot for no particular reason. It just seems special to me. So I'm always hoping we'll find something good there.
Yeah, having all items to do so, might as well get the check out of the way. And with item locations dwindling at this point in time, you never know where things could be. I'm almost thinking that pod is our answer here. It does hold the items we need, but you never know until you get there. Armos Knights dropping the map and giving us another crystal. And there we have it. The Mad Batter having the first sword of the seed at 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 30 seconds.
I was trying to think of some clever joke about how Batman doesn't kill people, so why is the Mad Batter got a sword? But the words for a clever punchline weren't there.
I'm not sure how one would go with that. But looks like Aeide is going to go and head off into pod, as well as will most likely do Eastern at the same time.
Getting that sword, though, did just put a great deal of Ice Palace into logic, which is an interesting little thing that these runners could consider.
It's very true. Ice Palace is open. Not somewhere you really want to try diving, but it is an option on the table. But overall, both runners do an excellent job without having a sword for this long, because both of them currently have 3 dungeons done. And one of them for each runner is different, so... Carter messing up the coffee break, but does have cape. Can do the cape glitch by holding the wall here while invisible. Then Aeide getting a key in that first chest, but still opts towards the bow locked side. Or I shouldn't say bow locked, but the bow required side. The bow does not affect the beetles here, so we'll have to use Berna. And we have boots.
It's time to go fast.
Still a lot of things left to be held here, so definitely good not to dip out just yet. Fairly certain that was our first item as well, so 4 left to have.
Yeah, until then it had just been keys so far.
And another key. Use a key, get a key. And off to the back half, here we go.
Had Aid checked that basement chest down beneath the vanilla big key chest yet?
No, they did not check it. That would have been prime opportunity to check it when they got that key up the stairs there. But they did not check it. Hopefully that isn't the item.
And unfortunately,
There's
looked away
our
from
boss key.
Carter's side, but got troll dorm down pretty quickly. It looks like so. That's another dungeon down for Carter.
All right, 4 dungeons in Carter's name. And really, with having no sword this late into the game, it's actually very surprising how much work these 2 runners have done. Which is absolutely amazing on their part. Only 3 dungeons left to go, a couple of items left to grab.
And we have the King of Samaria in pod.
Alright, so overall, pod being the place to go. That leaves us with Quake and Fire Rod, as well as Hookshot, required to finish this game off. Unless you can hover, you'll need that Hookshot. Bomb upgrade inside the Dark Maze there.
And for those of you who are fans of the Pedestal seed, I believe at this point, 2 out of those 3 go mode items are still on the table for Pedestal. The one that is not is Fire Rod due to Skullwoods requiring it.
Hookshot is also dead for that because of Swamp. So the only thing that can
Very
be
true.
Pedestal at this point is an item that would lead to Quake or Quake itself. I mean, Silvers could also be there, which would very much suck if you don't know how to do Silverless. But I won't count these runners out until that comes to be. Yeah, and I mentioned hovering earlier. I don't know the exact tech on it, but I'm pretty sure it's you can have your A button pushed for 1 frame, and you can be off the A button for I think it's like 20 something frames. It's less. I think it's like between 23 and 26 frames that you can be off that A button. So it's consistent mashing. It's not just random as well. It's very difficult to do, and only the highest of runners I've seen can pull it off. And Carter going to be opening up Turtle Rock here, or at least the portal to get to Turtle Rock here. Won't be able to actually open the dungeon yet. And Aeide actually opting to go straight for Helmasaur King here.
Yeah, based on what I saw when he last paused, he did already acquire the map and compass in here, so beating Helmasaur King should yield 2 items for him because Green Pendant will also be dropped, as well as whatever item we get from the king himself.
Did they ever end up going back and getting that basement item?
That is where their last key was to get back here, actually.
Oh, okay. So 2 items to be had here. Definitely a nice play to actually go and finish this off, especially with needing items for go mode still. "17 hits with the hammer, and the shield will be broken. You could also use bombs in this case. 3 bombs will do the trick. And I'm not sure how many arrows to the little gem here it takes, but quite a few. And just like that, Helmsar King goes down. And Carter looks like they're going to do the exact same play here. Head off into Pod. And it looks like we get a Master Sword from the Helmsar King. Very nice.
Definitely a nice find. We did need at least one more sword upgrade before we got to the end game for Ganon, because Fighter Sword will not damage Ganon.
Yeah, and even with having Master Sword, only spin attacks will affect Ganon, which never the best option.
Correct,
Oh,
especially if we don't find silvers.
Carter not having enough rupees to pay Kiki the monkey. Too short. Oh, there we go. Very nice. Getting a 5 rupee drop from that enemy.
I'm sure finding a blue rupee has never felt so satisfying.
Yeah, exactly. Alright, so also getting green pendant from Pod, and then tackling Eastern. Sahasrahla is right around the corner. That's probably the best combo I could think of.
For sure, definitely a nice little setup this seed is being generous to them for, at least in one place after all this widespread item locations early on.
Yeah, exactly. Carter picking up that small key. We'll see whether they opt to do the bow side or just go straight ahead. And Aeide gonna head off and do the Armless Knights here.
And something I just noticed on Carter's side here, has not checked Magic Bat to get that first sword upgrade and is currently lacking any arrows. So that's going to cause some trouble,
very
one, in this
true.
room coming up, as well as depending on how that we'll see how it affects how he decides to approach this Helmasaur fight.
Looks
We're
like they're
doing
gonna
some
do the
bottle
auto
glitch.
Gets the glitch to work. Very nice. The way this glitch works, I don't actually know, but holding left in that hallway while drinking a potion will make the camera not lock, and then you can get this red mimic stuck on the skull there like he does, and once the green ones go off screen, you can then proceed through the door. There were arrows in those skulls, so if he knew that, he should have picked those up along the way to give him more for later. But having extra potions, definitely very nice.
I must admit, it's a very unique situation to have to do bottle glitch while at the same time having the bow in hand.
I mean, overall, it shows off a fantastic glitch that is allowed in this tournament. So, props to him.
And now we're going to find out what Sahasrahla has in store for us once he gets a good look at this green pendant.
Just a heart piece this time around. So, killing Helmsar King, worth it for that sword, but other than that, not much. I mean, Pedestal is still alive, so maybe that's required for later, but as for now, it looks like Aeide is going to head off into Mire with having full access to the dungeon. Two items to be held within. We'll see if it yields anything we need. Carter going to be picking up that Canis Maria anytime now. And then we'll probably be doing something similar. I mean, it could always be a case of Fire Rod being within Ice Palace, or something silly like that, with having Bombos to enter it.
Very true. What would be a little worse off would be if it was a Fire Rod being within Turtle Rock, and the keys sort of push you all the way up to Laser Bridge or something like that.
Very true. I think that would be very unfortunate to find Fire Rod on Laser Bridge and then have to come back up to do that torch room.
Yeah, at this point, I think the runners have sort of paid their due to this seed. They're owed something less trolly as we head to the sort of last few parts of this run here.
Yeah, exactly. Carter actually still swordless at 1 hour and 17 minutes, 20 seconds. Will get a sword from Helmasaur King if he chooses to do it, as well as Mad Batter if that ever comes to be. And Aeide, slowly but surely working through Mire. There's no actual proper way to do the full Mire clear. It's just time consuming overall. A lot of locations that just yield a ton of keys or useless things. And not having Fire Rod for this room, definitely another time sink here, having to push all these blocks out of the way before starting.
Yeah, if you thought you had to wait long enough after lighting the torches, this is just one extra little pain in the butt before you even get that far.
Yeah, and here's one of the longest cutscenes in the game, where it's just your screen gyrating. And funnily enough, we get both screens gyrating at the same time. At least for the pod one, you could see the wall moving. Whereas for the Mire, it's just the room is shaking.
For sure.
Carter on the way to the Helmasaur King now. Very nice use of powder on an anti-fairy, getting a very nice fairy out of it. Healing their wounds, and then we'll check the last couple of locations here. Now I remember seeing the 100 rupees from the vanilla big key location, but I don't remember what the other item here was inside Mire.
Funnily enough, I remembered there was a red rupee in like the room above the tile room. So between the two of us, we know there's the two items for this dungeon.
And Carter, now having a sword to his name, will be able to slash things all he wants. Hour and 20 minutes, and I think it was about 10 seconds that he got that.
And with Eastern done, gonna make their way to Sahasrara in the Dark World. stopping on that bug net on the pause menu, but pulls the mirror out, and we'll just find Sahasrahla, giving him a piece of heart.
Sahasrahla is just a lonely guy, just wants a little bit of love with that heart, so... Now it'll be interesting to see where Carter heads off to next. So far we know that Meyer is a bust, so at this point in time, I'm thinking that Ice Palace is the play to make.
That is quite possible. A couple of locations have been unlocked as well with boots, so there's a couple, here and there overworld locations that they can consider as well.
Yeah, exactly. Swamp Palace is accessible. Of course, not having the hookshot to access the back half, but there are a bunch of items in there to be had. And Carter having to use that bombos inside here. Now, Master Sword, no Silver Arrow fight on Vitreous here. Aeide is actually doing a very nice thing and staying to the side of Vitreous. The way Vitreous hops towards you makes standing below him actually very, very scary, because he could avoid your slash or something and land on top of you, dealing a massive amount of damage. Takes it down, no problem.
And the first chest in Ice Palace is where we're going to find the silvers today.
Very nice. So I would assume Aeide would pick those up when they arrive here. So we know we won't be doing silverless, so very nice to see.
Alright, so Carter continuing to make their way through Ice Palace, and it looks like Aide's going to be joining in on the Ice Palace fun as well. And Carter here setting up for a Ice Palace bomb jump, the Ice Palace bomb jump. There are a few others within this dungeon, but this is like the one that, if you ever decide to run this randomizer, it's a trick that it's definitely worth taking the time to learn, because especially if you're doing a go mode Ice Palace, this can save you a lot of time. And basically, in general, routing through Ice Palace, this can be a lot more convenient for you to get through it as well.
And very nice bomb jump there on Carter's side. Yeah, as you were saying, it's very nice to learn, but there's different ways of going about learning it. There's a 2-pixel wide black bar right around where the door is that you could center around the top of your sprite. But of course, with so many different sprites, that could be a harder way of going about it. Whereas if you were to base yourself on your sword location, the pixels between the sword and the bomb, it makes for a lot easier of a time. And Aeide actually getting those silvers as well. Very nice. Now we'll see if Carter knows the bomb jump for here or not. Looks like he does. That should work. Very nice. If you align yourself on that block, push yourself left against it while facing up, go as far down as you possibly can, place the bomb upwards, and then just move to the right slightly. It'll launch you across. It's very forgiving.
Sounds like just a few very simple steps. I got to get on and learn on that one.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot harder, but after attempting it like twice, it was like, oh, it's very forgiving. You have like 8 to 10 pixels to the right that you can move, and it'll work. So long as you are to the right of that bomb, it'll work.
And Aeide shows off the Ice Palace bomb jump as well on their side, as Carter checks some of these back few chests. Just a red rupee in that last one.
So with both of them doing the bomb jump, as well as Carter doing the second bomb jump, we know that hookshot shouldn't be here unless the keys were laid out in a certain way. Other than that, I feel hookshot is now going to be within Swamp Palace at this point in time. Either that or it'll be late in TR. And there's our fire rod to do TR.
And so that's actually our third item to be found in this dungeon between Silver's fire rod and that big 20. So, yeah, Carter knows he's just ready to head straight for Cold Stare, whereas Aeide is gonna have to check these last few spots.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if you were running this, what would be your next item location to go after?
That's pretty rough. I think at this point I might at least consider doing those 2 quick bonk spots, just while I try to think of a better plan.
Right. I would still go with Swamp, just due to being able to clear the full left side there. Potential hookshot there. And Aeide doing the other method of the bomb jump, whereas you face left into the block and then go down as far as you can and place a bomb. It should not knock you over every time. So it's very nice to see 2 different methods to do the fight. Or not the fight, the bomb jump. My brain is very tired. Carter going to use the hammer on the Cold Stare fight here. Hammer doing tempered sword damage, but a very risky fight, but does have red mail to get through it.
Yeah, he actually did give arrows a try there, but unfortunately, unlike Ice Rod on Lamolus, it's not a unique weapon choice that will work out this time around.
Using the fire rod, getting one of those puffballs out of the way. Very nice. Makes it a little bit easier. Another method for this fight, if you're wary on your melee attacks, if you were to stand on the very upper section, right against the wall, the ice blocks falling from the sky would actually disappear on contact, like that. So you could stand up there and be perfectly safe, but of course, with Cold Stare running around the room, you wouldn't be able to attack. And getting a small key from Cold Stare, if you were to not do the bomb jump, the Canis Maria is 100% required for this. Now both runners are going to be in the exact same position here shortly. Looks like Carter's going to head off into Mire. Aide's going to finish up Ice Palace here, and then we'll have the same dungeons completed on both sides. And then it's literally just the search for Hookshot and Quake at this point in time.
And we see Aeide opting to use that Master Sword, given he's got the slightly stronger sword power over Carter at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Mainly using spin attacks there, so very nice fight on Aide's side. And getting another crystal. Just TR in the way of Ganon's Tower. Now, where is Aeide gonna opt to gamble next? Looks like the swamp play.
I'm not sure if you remember, but now that we have Fire Rod, I do know Skullwoods is fully accessible. Do we know if we've seen both items in there yet, though?
I'm not sure if we've seen both items, actually. Regardless, if they need to, they can go back having the items for it. Swamp has a lot more items, so I would definitely have seen this play before Skullwoods anyways. So we'll see if they opt to go back there later or not.
For sure. I'm trying to think, like, what kind of, besides dungeons, what remains. So we do have those 2 bonk locations on either side of Sanctuary. There's also one bonk accessible location in Hookshot Cave.
Very true. Bonks are in the logic. They are in the original game. You're meant to be able to bonk. Like, if you remember Ganon's Tower, there's a ferry location halfway up the tower that requires bonking to get to. So with that, it's been programmed in that bonking is a strat that can be required. Hookshot is able to be within Hookshot Cave, which is very cruel, I find sometimes, but very interesting when it pays off to be that way. Aeide making this swamp dive. A lot of items to be had here at the start. Now, if you were to find Hookshot in here, but not find the book or Quake, would you finish the dungeon?
I believe if I got Hookshot, I'm thinking you might as well clear it. I guess it comes down to where, like, when you find your 6th item. Although by the time you find your 6th item, you will have had to have gone to the back section of the dungeon. So I think I'd feel like I've gone far enough. I might as well clear it, just in case it ends up being a pedestal.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like not as much of a time sinker, like one way versus the other kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's a decent trek to get into this dungeon, as well as to get to the back half or to this left half here, if you were to do only one or the other. So if you were to leave at any point in time and come back to defeat it later, it'd be a decent time sink. So I can go with the finish it now, since I'm here kind of thing.
Right. What's going through my mind right now is which item do these runners want to find first between the two? Because if they find Hookshot, then that makes the Pedestal Dream potentially alive. But if they find Quake, that means that they could look anywhere for Hookshot, and that includes within Ganon's Tower, I believe, correct?
Very true. I personally would rather see Hookshot now, because that way I know I'm going into go mode the second I find Quake. Regardless of me having to do the rest of this dungeon and the boss of Skull Woods, since they are very close to having Pedestal done already.
Very true. So in a sense, like, Pedestal Seed almost seems preferable at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Knowing you're 2 bosses away from your go mode, rather than having all of TR, all of Ganon's Tower, and all the rest of the overworld checks, you kind of want to avoid having to search all that for the go mode. especially for hookshot. That would be very unfortunate. Speaking of hookshot, there it is. So it's a hookshot on Aide's side.
I'm sure they're breathing a sigh of relief, most likely there.
Yeah, exactly. Finding it within the dungeon that requires it will allow them to access the back half, which could potentially like hold Quake, which is all they need for go mode.
Interestingly, Carter's going for a different play here, possibly doing that Skull Woods option, it looks like.
Yeah, looking like that. Heading off into the back end here of Skullwoods. So, with that news, I would assume there's one item left here.
Now, what would be interesting is if Quake ends up being in Skull Woods, because that might lead Carter to go to T-Rock before Swamp.
That is very possible. If that is the case, Carter could be on the wild chase for that hookshot, which is what I was mentioning earlier, having the entire world to look for it. And a map there underneath the bridge. Alright, Aeide heading off into that Argus fight right away, whereas Carter's going to go do the Mothula fight. If Quake ends up being here on Mothula, I feel that would definitely hurt Carter a little more than anything else at this point in time, just due to where Hookshot ended up being. The good side is that Hookshot is not required at all for TR, so it will be full clearable, but then again, his tower is now open for potential items. And Carter having to do Fighter Sword Mothula is a very scary thing. Only spin attacks will work, and it requires a lot of them. Actually, normal slashes seem to work too. I always just use spin attacks because it does more damage, I guess. And Aeide making quick work of that Argus fight, getting another pendant, and blasting off some fire rod shots.
Yeah, and that was just the map at the end there, so kind of discussing our issue of do you go ahead and full clear Swamp Wire here? It looks like Aeide is of the mindset that, yeah, you might as well. Better be safe than sorry, kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of thought.
And with only Skullwoods left on the table here on Aide's side, there's the Bonk Rocks available. And there was an item on Mothula. So, do they head up the mountain, which they're heading up the mountain? They can access all of Hookshot Cave. They have access to the back end of Skull Woods. Pedestal is in play. They're one boss fight away from it. The world is our oyster still at this point in time. There's a few things left to do.
Yeah, did we ever get a pyramid or catfish check from either of these runners?
I don't think so. I don't recall either of them running in that direction.
Which with that late hammer does make sense that like they had flute already, so when they went to Eastern, it's because they fluted and just entered the Dark World on the very far east side, and they dealt with the west side earlier. So that kind of middle area where Pyramid is never really sort of crossed their routing.
Right, exactly. And Carter gonna do the Bonk Rocks here as well as King's Tome, and hope to find some sort of progression for himself. Half magic. That's always nice to see. Not required, but can be useful.
Really, at this point, I'm hoping that Carter heads to Swamp sooner rather than later, just because of that potential disadvantage of finding Quake before Hookshot.
Exactly. I think the only thing that would save him is if it were to be here inside Hookshot Cave, something locked by the Hookshot. But is not the case this time around. At this point in the game, if I was Aeide, the thing going through my mind is I'm a Mothula fight away from that pedestal. I might as well just do it, regardless of how much time it's going to take. You don't know where that Quake medallion is. But if you did miss the pyramid check or did miss out on catfish, of course they don't know if their runner did the same thing or not. So it's very interesting to see what would go on through their minds, kind of thing. There is one item left here in Thieves Town too. They did not have hammer when they came through here.
Right, this is one of those things that if you don't have a good like memory of counting items, or if you don't have some sort of like map tracker or chest tracker in dungeons, this is something you can overlook. So it's a good memory on Aide's side, recognizing that there's still a potential that Quake will be in that big chest in here. I'll admit it had slipped my mind.
It has slipped my mind as well. It's something you don't really think about after you've gained so many items. But Aeide remembering to come back here, and Carter getting their Master Sword, now on par with Aide's sword. And where is Carter off to next? Fluting around a little bit.
I saw him land at 4 and thought that was either going to be Pyramid and Catfish or Swamp, but no, just deciding, oh, landed in the wrong spot for a second.
Now the only thing this could be would be Pyramid or Catfish as well, since everything over here is already cleared out. And it was just a bloomerang inside the big chest of Thieves Town. So Aeide now heading up into Skull Woods, it looks like.
And I believe between what these two runners are doing now, this is going to give us our last few checks. So one of them has to find Quake, I believe.
Either Quake or the book or the shovel. They are all options on the table.
Right, some kind of fetch questy thing that leads us to the Quake, right?
And a hot Cheeto on the pyramid. So yeah, definitely did not see that check earlier on. And it looks like Carter heading up to do the catfish check now. Aeide gonna go finish off Mothula and do a blind pedestal pull. Those are always the fun ones, because you don't know if you actually have to do it or not.
Meanwhile, the moment of truth for Catfish here.
Ooh, just a red rupee.
Does that mean Pedestal has to be Quake?
Quake or book, but I believe, yes, it has to be one of them. I don't see any item locations left in my mind, so I'm gonna go with yes, guaranteed.
So
Looks like
what's up?
Carter is well gonna go into Thieves Town here.
But yeah, so this looks like that means it's a bookless, like a blind Pedestal seed. That is a very unique circumstance to have to deal with.
Yeah, exactly. Getting the red rupee from Mothula confirms it. Has all 3 pendants now on Aide's side, as well as Mirror to go straight for Pedestal. There still can be kind of some fetch quest here. If this is Book to lead into Shovel to lead into Quake, could be interesting. Who knows? But it could be just Quake. You never know. Looks like it is Quake this time around. Off for TR for Aide in go mode.
Yeah, this seed's done goofing around. It's like you've had your fun. Just finish it off already.
Right, and as Aide is working up the mountain and Carter's doing something we've already seen before, I just want to have everyone make sure that you follow these runners. They're putting on an excellent show for us. Having to do a pedestal seed, of course. Very, very well played out so far.
So Carter unfortunately does have some catching up to do. Will not be trolled by the issue of finding Quake before hookshot, which is nice for them. The other advantage they have, or the one advantage I suppose I should say, is that one sword upgrade that they found on the pyramid that Aide will not be crossing paths with.
Yeah, exactly. And Carter now going to head up and do what I would think would be either the Spike Cave check or potential Hook Shot Cave. Yeah, it looks like Spike Cave this time around. But can't do Hookshot Cave, does not have the hook shot, so it still has to do Swamp in that sense.
They do have that one bonk chest, but yeah, they won't be rewarded there. I'm wondering if Carter just really doesn't want to have to deal with the pedestal, so is just avoiding everything. And finding that ether there has got to be a little frustrating. It's like, hey, it's a coin. No,
Yeah,
it's the wrong
that
one.
one's got to sting a little bit. Getting the wrong coin. Just turn it sideways, maybe it'll work still. And Aide heading off into TR. A key in the first chest. I mean, in go mode here, doesn't have to actually open all that many chests. If you know the key layout, you can skip a couple things. Definitely if you get the big key early on, it's a lot better. Otherwise, you're nearly forced into opening everything.
Yeah, it really looks like Carter is just checking everything with the hopes that this is not a pedestal seed or even a swamp seed, really. And especially with hookshot being found in its vanilla dungeon, I can see why Carter's really trying to avoid it as well.
Right, exactly. Heading out for Hookshot Cave now to do that one bonk location.
And there's our last sword upgrade in the Chain Chomp room. So Carter will likely have Butter Sword when it's all said and done, but Aide's got that Cheeto sword now.
I mean, theoretically, maybe Aeide will like barely see the butter sword on there on the pyramid. Unlikely, but the tempered sword is enough to do the fight for sure.
So yeah, that key knowledge you mentioned, you see here that Aide grabs the key drop from that pokey and doesn't go through that locked door there. Instead, saves that key drop so that it's just one little skip you get to do because you're saving a key.
Yeah, exactly. If you already have the big key at that time, useless to go through that door if you're in go mode.
And Carter finally making that play into Swamp here. Gonna find that hook shot and hopefully decides to commit. I think at this point they may have exhausted every other possibility except the rest of Hookshot Cave once they get that hook shot.
Yeah, exactly. At this point in time, that is the only spot left. Book's location at this point in time to finish off our inventory as well as shovel can be literally anywhere at this point in time. Ganon's Tower or inside TR here. There is no overworld locations left. So it is doubtful we will find it unless we get trolled around by the key on Laser Bridge. And into the dark room here. Very quick work. Onto the switch. We'll see if they stop to fill up their rations a little bit here. Looks like it. And then we'll head off to Laser Bridge.
And definitely a smart move, especially if they opt to use one of their magical items to get their way through Laser Bridge. It's nice to have that little boost.
Yeah, exactly. Having 2 items to get through it does a dash easy peasy, no problem. Very nice to see. Oh, a little bit too far down on that one, though. Gets the small key, though. And heads right off to Trinex. Not opening the safety door. Must feel a little bit confident there. So for them, I'm hoping they get through this no problem.
Yeah, they're a little low on hearts, and they didn't even stop to grab a fairy using the powder on the way in, too. So definitely, I'm thinking Aide's feeling pretty confident heading in here. So let's see how that turns out.
Yeah, with being near 2 hours in, having to do a full clear of the entire game, it all comes down to execution here, so you never know if Aeide feels like they are ahead or behind. Overall, Trinex not that bad a fight, both heads going down, only taking 1 hit here, and on to the last phase. And with that, Trinex is dead. And we'd like to play a little game here on Speed Gaming. Do you know what it is there, Xander?
I, in fact, do indeed. It is the Ganon's Tower Big Key guessing game. There are 22 chests within Ganon's Tower that the Big Key can be in before we're able to head upstairs. Put your number guesses in chat to guess where you think it's going to be. 1 through 22, and we count by the order that Aide checks the chests. Do you have a favorite spot you like to pick?
I like number 7, but it's a specific number 7. I like it to be in that group of 4 on the left-hand side. The first group of 4 on the left-hand side. Unfortunately, our bot isn't working, so you guys can still guess, of course. It's just no one will make it onto the leaderboard this time around. But I will try my best to go up in chat and see if anyone got it right.
I am a fan of the bonk torch myself, so if I have to put a number, I usually say 3, but depending on the routing and if we get right side gambles, that doesn't always seem to be the case.
Right, exactly. And it looks like Carter is going to go and finish off Swamp here, so very good call there. Chest number 1, red rupee. Chest number 2, 300 rupees.
I like it when there's no keys there because that forces that left side, and so I get to see that bonk torch. I'm a real fan of that bonk torch.
I feel a lot of people are a fan of that bonk torch when it's the big key and they don't have boots. Item location number 3, green potion.
And Aide decides it's worth it to grab, so nice little item to equip to their arsenal there.
Yeah, exactly. And it looks like Carter is going to continue full clear this dungeon. Few things left to be had here. Of course, they don't know what is actually here. Number 4, I think that was 400 or 300 rupees. Chest 5, a small key. Chest 6, another small key. And chest 7, my lucky number, is only a red rupee this time around. Oh yeah, and Bob is dead because of Aide getting that green potion. Did Carter mirror out of Swamp?
It certainly looks like it must have counted to 6 in their item count and thought, "Ooh, I got hookshot. That gives me hookshot cave."
Very unfortunate on that part, because they're going to go get a whole lot of nothing out of Hookshot Cave there. Chest number 8, I didn't catch it on Aide's side, but it is not the big key. Getting a very nice boomerang glitch there. Not so much a glitch, but swapping items to make it a little faster to get around. A nice bonk over the fire snake. Chest number 9, a small key.
And all this time, I'm just feeling bad for Carter, just seeing how determined they were that they refused to believe this was not a pedestal seed. Like, checking every last possible thing.
Yeah. Chest number 10 is the big key. And it doesn't look like anyone has guessed 10. The closest I see is Little Miss Spricey at 8 is the closest I see in chat there. And no, you can't say 10 after it's been done. Fortunately, that is not how it works. And Aide, off to the gauntlet they go. now where's Carter off to? Back into Swamp. It looks like no item locations left in the game. So we'll see very high collection rates for both runners here.
Well, there's that bonk you were talking about being, like, explaining why bonking over gaps isn't logic, is Aeide goes to this little pit stop room for some fairies.
Yeah, catches one in a bottle and eats the other one. Carter gonna go off and finish Argus here in the back, whereas Aeide is heading up the gauntlet.
Making use of that powder for another fairy heal. Aeide just kind of, you know, using the taking advantage of any safeties along the way. Definitely doesn't want to die up here after having to slog through this grueling seed. Totally get it.
Exactly. Just using sword strats here on the land moles. If you were to use, say, the fire rod or the arrows, getting that fairy in the previous room actually does mess up the pattern here, so it can make it a little bit harder, but with sword strats, it doesn't really make a difference. Carter in the Argus fight will get that pendant for themselves, and then we'll head off to the pedestal. Blue pendant obtained. Time for pedestal pull on Carter's side.
Unfortunately, not as nearby as Aeide was after getting their third pendant at Skull Woods, but, you know, gotta do what you gotta do to get that Quake medallion.
Yeah, exactly. Now, all that stands in the way of Aeide and Aghanim is the mold orm in the next room. Very nice use of the dash mechanic. You can dash through Moldorm. And the last chest of the game only holding 20 rupees. Mainly hoping for a butter sword there on Aide's side, I'm sure. But that is on the pyramid, which is somewhere they'll be going right away here. Unfortunately, won't pick that up.
And with Quake in hand, Carter is now in go mode at 2 hours, 5 minutes, and about 10 seconds.
Yeah, they'll be heading off to TR real soon.
Aghanim's not being too friendly to Aeide today.
Yeah, these patterns are a little bit harder to set up. And I think they're trying a little harder to set up doubles or triples, that they aren't focusing too much on the Aghanim himself. But that's 2 hits in now. Shortly, we'll be done this fight. Very nice double. And one hit left, and Aghanim will be defeated. Tried to set up the graphing calculator. Didn't quite work. And there we go. Aghanim down.
I think
Just a pig between the Triforce.
I was just saying on that last phase, where there was a miss, I think Aghanim felt the little hairs under his crown or whatever kind of whoosh as the beam just kind of grazed over him.
Yeah, it was a very close shot. The protractor was just slightly off, but got it on the next phase. Very nice. Carter inside TR at the time that Aeide is in Ganon. Overall, I'm not sure how many slashes with Tempered it takes to get through the phases. Pretty sure it's... No, I'm not even going to say a number. I'm going to get it wrong 100% and I'll be called out for it. I know with Butter it's 12, but I'm not sure if that's the same with Tempered or not. I would assume it's slightly different.
Well, it was no more than Aeide just did that for that phase right there. It's as much as I know for you.
Yeah, exactly. We're on phase 3, gonna be soon on to phase 4 here. And are they gonna go for the arrow shot? They are. Does not get the torch glitch, unfortunately, but does get another hit in here right away. Very nice to see. And that is 3 hits. One more torchlight, and we'll be roasting a pig.
Meanwhile, Carter finishing up that spike roller room, grabbing that big key. Probably be happy to find that sooner rather than later, so they'll be able to skip that one locked door.
Yeah, exactly. Aeide, there we go. Defeating Ganon. Bacon is served just in time for breakfast for some people. And with that, Aeide has come in with an SRTV time of 2:08:35. GG, Aeide. And the game having it out for these runners. The Triforce laughing at them. And with that, Aeide moves to 3-2. I remember doing calculations last. I'll see if I can pull those up now. Of course, these calculations are in the perfect world where no one drops out, but of course we have already had dropouts thus far, so they won't be perfect. So actually, it's the same for 3-2 as 2 and 3. If there were no dropouts, after this round here, it will be 160 people in both groups of 3-2 and 2-3. So they get to join quite a lot of other people. And we'll see if Aeide wants to join us for an interview. Welcome, GG Aeide.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh man, what a seed.
How did you like that blind pedestal pull for Quake?
That is the second time I have blind pedestal pulled for Quake to get a win in this tournament.
I mean, overall, must have felt good to get the win in there.
Oh
but
man,
having to do blind ped, very scary.
It was awful, but this seed had just been troll already. I figured, you know what, it's got to be Pedestal.
Yeah, you and Carter there doing nice work without the sword for the early half. You getting your first sword at an hour, 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Doing 4 dungeons really without the sword. Overall, very nice work there.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. And the two of us actually did a half of a race last night. I don't know if this is mentioned anywhere, but he and I originally scheduled yesterday, and my computer blue screened, and Carter was nice enough to agree to a rematch. We actually started with sword in that seed last night, so to go swordless for over an hour was about as different as you can get.
I'm pretty sure to start with sword on Uncle, it's only about a 2% chance, whereas all the other weapons are about an 18% chance.
Yeah.
So to start with, it's pretty lucky. And I did mention to the chat earlier about your blue screen there, so very, very nice of Carter to reschedule with you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. He's the real MVP of this match, so GG Carter.
He's heading off for his Trinix fight right now.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I haven't hopped into the Twitch yet. That was a friggin' seed, though. Oh my god. And I was really worried when I went up to the Zora area. I completely just didn't look at the ledge, and I didn't have flippers at the time, so I couldn't actually check it without going all the way back around. So I was super worried that that was Quake. I had no intention of going back there whatsoever.
Yeah, it wasn't anything of significance.
That's very lucky.
So you got 3 of the 4 swords this time around. Any guesses as to where the 4th one lies for you?
Oh man, I mean, I didn't not check many places. Bonk Rocks?
Not Bonk Rocks. It wound up being very close to where you ended the whole thing. On the pyramid.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I didn't check Pyramid or Catfish, which is something I generally check pretty early, both of those, and just ignored them this time. It felt like a dungeon seed.
Yeah, it was definitely a dungeon seed with having to do all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were kind of discussing that. I'm thinking part of it was probably the fact that it was the late hammer, so you didn't even really have access to Pyramid and Catfish until after you'd gotten the hammer, which along with it you had the flute already, so you were able to just flute over to where Pod was, rather than sort of stopping in the middle. So it pretty much made a lot of sense that you wouldn't even stop in that area.
No, we weren't there naturally at any point, so... I was thinking maybe if I hadn't gotten hookshot at that point, after, like if I got Quake before hookshot, to do it then with Fat Fairy all at the same time.
Yeah, that's definitely understandable too.
Yeah. Oh boy, how about left side swamp though? People saying it never pays off. Hoo-hoo-hoo.
Yeah, this time definitely paying off. So having exactly what you need to finish. That's where Carter actually kind of took a fall there. Got hookshot, cleared out the other items in the back half, and then decided to dip out.
And just never
swamp.
fought Argus.
And never fought Argus. Went up to Hookshot Cave, and then of course had everything else done, so has to go back to Argus.
Oh,
so that's
a long time.
Yeah, that's where a lot of the time difference between you are. He's in Ganon's tower now as we speak, actually.
So one thing I'm wondering here, Aeide, so we were kind of talking about this when it was down to just finding Hookshot and Quake. If for some reason you ended up finding Quake first, do you think you would have gone to Turtle Rock shortly thereafter? Or, because at that point, like, Hookshot could have been absolutely anywhere, and you would need it to get past Moldorm. Like, to get across that gap.
I would have absolutely done the dungeon as soon as I could. The second I was really hoping I would find Hookshot before Quake. But if I hadn't, I would have just gone straight to, unless I was in the middle of something, I would have gone straight to it.
And then you think you would have gone straight into Ganon's tower from there?
Oh, man. Maybe. Probably.
Yeah, with a lot of item locations, I don't think anyone can blame you for doing that. And if it
Yeah.
happened to be hidden away somewhere else, like of course it had to be either like Pyramid Fairy, Catfish, Pyramid, Bonk Rocks, or Ganon's Tower at that point in time. So it wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, totally. Ugh.
Do you
Yeah.
have any final thoughts over the seed at all?
I don't think so. It's continuing to prove my thought of V29, where Pendant Swamp Palace pays out every time. Crystal Swamp Palace is trash.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Pod paying out too,
Pod also,
which is another
Pod pays
pendant
out
dungeon.
regardless.
Yeah, so 2 pendant dungeons paying off, and then of course needing that third one just to get what you need. So very nice.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a seed. It was fun. I like seeds that are like that, where it's pretty everywhere until you find a little progression, then it opens everywhere else.
Yeah, exactly. You came in with a 166 with your collection rate too, so not too far off maxing out. But
Yeah,
there are a few
honestly I thought I would
locations
hit the
left.
170s.
Mhm.
It was crazy. The only places I can think of that I didn't check were like the Bonk Rocks, King's Tomb area, obviously Mirror Ledge, both pyramid locations, and then like Catfish.
Right. So now you move to 3 and 2. You join 160 other people in that 3 and 2 stage.
Yay!
Your dreams are still alive for making out of brackets, so I wish you good luck on those.
Thank you very much. My tournament goal was to go 3 and 4, so I have achieved it. Huzzah! Everything else is just gravy.
Right, exactly. I advise everyone in chat to make sure you follow these runners as well. And we will head back on to commentating Carter if you want to join in on chat there, if you want to stick around, or...
Sweet, yeah, I think I'm gonna hit the hay, but that was a good race. GG Carter, if you ever end up watching / listening to this.
And thank you again for putting on a fantastic show.
Thank you, and thanks for commentating and tracking and restreaming and all the huge work that everybody puts into doing this. It's a blast.
All right, and
Yeah,
Carter
not a
heading
problem.
up the stairs here.
All right, night everybody.
Good night. Getting a nice quick room there with the Wizrobes. I'm gonna head off into another one. Ooh, narrowly misses it, unfortunately. We'll get it on this next try, though. The torch room, one of the various importances of Ganon's Tower. Going up the stairs in the next room at the same time as torches goes out, you will soft lock due to no enemies spawning. The torch room above this room, if the torches go out at the same time as you bombing the wall, the hole will still be there, although the textures for the cracked wall will still be there. So you can walk through the wall, technically. It's a very interesting glitch to have happen. I've only seen it once or twice. Carter opting not to get some life here, just gonna grab the magic and go.
And with Butter, just makes quick work of Moldorm there and just lines up to get that hook shot across this last gap. And not even
Nice.
giving that final chest the time of day.
Yeah, exactly. Hookshotting right through the block there as well. And a nice dash gets right up the stairs. We'll see if Carter has any other luck than Aide did with the setup for Aghanim here. gets a single on the first one. Accidentally opens the map. I'm surprised the map works inside a boss fight. Getting a double there, very nice. And another double. We are now one hit away. And there it is. Ganon is down. Off to the Ganon fight we go.
Now, with only 5 hearts, I'm not sure if Carter has any bottles with any goodies in them, but has should be a pretty quick and easy fight. But just getting a couple hits on Ganon can really add up pretty quick and knock him down.
Yeah, exactly. Has half magic, has the cape, so can be fairly safe overall for this fight if you avoid the hugs. Should be okay, I would assume. I'm not sure if they have any potions left at all, but we'll see what happens. Is going to opt for those cape strats here. Makes it very nice to dodge the bats here. Of course, only needing 12 hits to advance to the 3rd phase, so well past that at this point in time. Will keep cape on just to dodge those bats. And 3 more hits and we'll be into phase 4.
And for those of you who might have been counting teleports, you will note that Aeide and Carter are getting the same Ganon teleport RNG here. Nice little thing that the randomizer devs added in to sort of avoid there being an unfairness to a race due to RNG.
Yeah, and Carter, instead of going for the arrow shots there, decided to go for the torch glitch, which if you were to light that left torch before the right one goes out the first time, it will only be the left one that goes out throughout the fight, and getting a nice double in there for the end.
And sword held high, the big pig is down. Get your GGs ready in chat for Carter as they enter this last doorway.
And GG on karterfreak, coming in with an official SRTV time of 2 hours, 23 minutes, and 27 seconds. GG karterfreak. GG karterfreak. Congrats on finishing the game there.
Thank you. That was actually my first pedestal seed, so I legitimately thought that I was going to find Quake up in Hookshot Cave and left Argus before finishing. Not exactly the best idea.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate at that point in time. Of course, we actually already had that information when you had opted to doing that, so it kind of hurts to see, but of course when you don't know, you take that gamble.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. I took the gamble. I really thought that it was going to just be up in Hookshot Cave. Ended up not being the case. I felt really bad when I had to go all the way back to Swamp Palace, beat Argus, get Pedestal, go all the way back up the mountain again.
Yeah, overall, it was a fantastic race by you and Aeide. I also want to say thank you for making a rematch here, knowing what had happened last night with Aide's blue screen. So you're definitely a nice person on that sense to offer a rematch.
I would imagine he would have did the same. So I had no problems rematching at all. I wouldn't want to win off of a blue screen, so wouldn't feel right.
Yeah, that's definitely understandable. I also want to say nice work with the early game there, not getting a sword until about the hour 20 mark, having a lot of dungeons done by then.
How long did it take for Aeide to get a sword?
They got theirs at an hour 2 because they had checked the Mad Batter first.
Oh, okay. I kind of wish I did that now, but them's the breaks.
Yeah, exactly. You both did Helmasaur around the same time, so that's why you got yours at about an hour 20 comparative to when they got theirs.
Okay, okay.
But
Well, I
it was
would like to
definitely nice early on. So
Thank you. I would like to say thanks to Aid for the race, though, and hope we can race again sometime. It was fun. Don't
do you
really
have
have much
any?
else to
Do you have
add,
any other
unfortunately.
thoughts on this seed at all?
Pedestal seeds suck. That's all I gotta say about that. That was my first ever pedestal seed, so like I said, I was pretty happy with how I did considering that fact.
Hmm.
But some of the routing mistakes I made throughout the run, and just overall like absent-mindedness about some things, I really wish I can improve on that.
Right.
But you know, I'll get better at it as I play more. I only started this about 2 months ago, so
Hmm. Yeah, very good work to do at like a 223 near full completion and only be playing for 2 months. So, very nice work. Xander, do you have any final questions here?
I don't know. I feel like I had some and they kept coming and going. Was that your first? Is that the longest you've gone swordless in a run before?
yeah, that's definitely the longest I've gone without a sword. Can't disagree there. That was pretty brutal, not having sword for that long.
Yeah, it definitely didn't look like the most fun thing to be doing. And then also, I believe it was in Pod. You showed off the bottle glitch, correct?
Yeah, I did. I didn't have any arrows to kill the mimics with, so I had to do bottle glitch.
Yeah, it was a very good backup to go in there with because it's a very unique situation to have bow and still need to resort to doing that glitch. So thanks for showcasing it for the viewers here, and for me, it's really cool to see because it's one of those newer things that doesn't come into races as often.
Oh yeah, not a problem. I didn't really have much of a choice there, so
Yeah, there is actually 5 arrows inside one of those skulls in that room.
Oh, really?
For future reference.
okay.
But it is definitely nice to see that bottle glitch. No one really does it because no one ever really enters pod without the bow at this point in time. But it's very nice to see. And overall, I just want to say thank you for you and Aid for putting on a great show. Everyone in chat, make sure to follow these runners. Of course, the bot isn't working, so I found the links myself. They're in chat there. Make sure you follow Speed Gaming 1 through 6, as well as ALTTP Randomizer 1 through 4. Tons of rando going on right now. Lots of matches every week, and the Swiss stage is getting fired up. Lots of things left to be seen. As for rando right now, there is a race starting in about 30 minutes on Speed Gaming 1 between McLagging and Ack the Boker. As well as 15 minutes after that, there should be a race on Speed Gaming 4 between Arboretic and Buzz Thunder. And I want to say thank you once again, everyone here, everyone in chat joining in. It's been a fun night. My name has been Chris Dather.
And I'm Xander Robotnik.
Yeah. And thank you again, runners. And we will see you all later. Have a good night.
Thanks everyone for sticking around. Have a good one.
Oh, yeah, and thanks, Merc, for tracking there in chat.